What is going on today, guys? So today I want to talk about if we should have gotten MW3 last year. Now what I mean by this is that MW2 should have been the game that MW3 is. Now I know that's a little bit confusing, but pretty much MW2 should have never been released how it was. Pretty much almost everything that's within MW3 multiplayer, and that's what I'm talking about, is the multiplayer side of things. Everything should have that is within MW3 should have been within MW2. For example, like things like the movement within MW3, that should have been in within MW2. Other things are like the maps, the classic mini map, dead silence as a perk, reload canceling, and even the increase to the TTK. All of that stuff that is within MW3 should have been within MW2, but instead we didn't get any of those things. We didn't get instead of keeping the fast style of movement and having like slide canceling in the game and just having everything sped up from like the running, jumping, mantling, strafing, all that being a lot more faster, they instead slowed everything down in MW2. They took away slide canceling, they completely removed it, they slowed everything down from your attack sprinting to your running, jumping, mantling, strafing, all of that got slowed down, which they should have never done. It should be like what it is in MW3. Same with the maps. The maps within MW2 suck. They should have never been released the way they were. There was maybe 2 good maps that were released upon when the game first released, and that's pretty much it. The rest of the maps were terrible. Really, they should have just taken all the classic 2009 MW2 maps and remastered them like they did in MW3, but instead did it in MW2. It would make sense too. They have MW2 with the classic MW2 maps. That would make so much more sense. The classic minimap, like they should have just put the classic minimap within MW2, but they didn't. Instead, they had this weird system where even though you shot your gun unsuppressed, you still wouldn't show up on the minimap, which just didn't make any sense at all. If you shoot your gun without a suppressor of some sort, then you should be appearing on the minimap as a red dot, but that wasn't the case with an MW2 at all. Dead silence being a perk, they completely removed dead silence as a perk with an MW2 and only made it a field upgrade. They should have never done that. That just added to the slower pacing and the slower style that game was. I think that dead silence should have 100% been a perk like it is within MW3, and as well as they even made it a field upgrade too. So not only do you get the option to have it as a perk, but you get the option to have it as field upgrade as well. That should 100% should have been in MW2, but it wasn't. Reload canceling should have been in MW2, but it wasn't. You could not reload cancel at all, which again slowed things down. I don't understand why it wasn't in the game, but it's in MW3. And then finally, the increase to the TTK. MW2 had only 100 base health, which was, you would get melted almost instantly within a gunfight. Like it was pretty much a matter of who saw who first when getting into a gunfight. So like if I were to see the player first, then typically I would get the kill first, so long as I get my gun up faster and I get on target faster. Same with like if the enemy were to see me first, they would most likely get the kill, so long as they get their gun up faster and get on target faster. Which that obviously mattered too. It's how fast you're getting on target and how fast you're aiming down your gun, whether it's normal ADSing or ADSing after sprinting. Compared to the MW3, which has 150 base health, that TTK rewards players for being more accurate. So let's say I see a player first, but that player then sees me and is a more accurate player. It gets on target quicker, and stays on target for longer, and can actually hit the necessary shots, closer to the body in headshots compared to like the arm or the legs. They're going to get rewarded for that accuracy, and they're going to win the gunfight, even though I was the one to see them first. So it kind of all depends on how skillful of a player you are. And again, this is something that's in MW3, the higher health, the higher TTK, but wasn't in MW2. So now you can kind of see what I mean by MW3 should have been the game we got in last year, that being MW2, because everything that's within MW3 pretty much, like all the features, should have been features within MW2. They should have never released MW2 the way it was. They should have never made changes to like the perk system. They should have never changed that around ever. It should have just stayed the traditional perk system, or if they wanted to do the whole gear thing that they do in MW3, they could have done that with an MW2, but they should have never done that drastic change to the perk system that they did within MW2, which was separating your 3 perks and having to earn your, you get your first perk at the start of the match, but then the other 2 perks you have to earn throughout the match. That just didn't make any sense. I don't know why it was in the game. It was honestly a stupid system, and this was vocalized way back in the developing stages of the game when people went and tested out the game. They didn't like it. When the beta came out and we all vocalized, when the community was able to play, majority of the community, should I say, was able to play, and they vocalized they didn't like it. They didn't change it, and they just kept it within the game for the whole year, and it still is in the game now. As well as weapon tuning. Like, weapon tuning should have never been within MW2. It was just, it overcomplicated stuff. It made stuff. I think the idea was to have a further in-depth way to kind of customize your weapon, but really it backfired. It was just way too complicated, way too much. You didn't really understand it that well, because they didn't really show like detailed stats of like, if I put the thing up to here, then it will do this exact amount. It didn't say that. It just, you kind of just guesstimated. You put it here, hopefully it does this, more positive than it does negative. And even talking about it, it's confusing. It was a confusing system. It shouldn't have been within the game. Really, MW2 was just a waste of money, and a waste of time. It was a failed project. It should have been good, and it definitely could have been good, but it wasn't. It was just a big waste of time, big waste of money. And pretty much MW3, the game that we got this year, should have been the game that we got last year, that being MW2. There's really no other way of putting it. Because as a result of now MW2 being terrible, but now we're getting MW3, which is a lot better. Yeah, it's good that we have a good game now, but we could have had a good game last year. Instead, we wasted our money on that game. Just have to spend more money on the good game. So we wasted pretty much a whole year of our time, wasted a whole $70, $100, or even more if you bought, stuff within the game. I mean, luckily that stuff gets transferred over to MW3, so you still get to use it within MW3, but still, putting money into the game, it kind of feels wasted for that time period that you were using it for within that game, and that really sucks. And the whole time, the people up top, like Activision and what's not, they're still profiting off of us. They're making a bunch of money off of us, and they don't care whether the game was good or not. They just care that they're making money. So while it was a huge L for us, it didn't really matter to Activision, because Activision still profited off of it and made it work for them. And yeah, I really like this. It could have been prevented. MW2, the way it released, could have been completely prevented. Because if they just listened to the community, and like they did with an MW3, like creating MW3, they actually listened to the community and did what the majority of the community wanted. They put in stuff that the community has been wanting for years, has been vocalizing, hey, you should put this within the game. They made those changes and put those changes within the game when creating MW3, but they didn't listen to the community at all when making MW2. They just did their own thing, and if they didn't do that, they actually listened, then the whole thing could have been prevented, and we actually would have gotten a good game. But yeah, I think that's pretty much all I want to talk about. Pretty much overall, it's sad that MW2 could have been really good if they just listened to the community when making the game, but instead they didn't, which resulted in a terrible game. Luckily, this year, they fixed all the mistakes that MW2 did wrong. And when I say this year, I'm talking about MW3, because that released this year. However, in all reality, they should have never made those mistakes in MW2. They could have been prevented. They should have never made them in the first place. And that's why I think MW3 is the game we should have gotten last year. So I know it's a little bit confusing, but hopefully that all makes sense. But yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did enjoy the video, then please give the video a like. And if you guys want more content like this, then please subscribe to the channel. But yeah, that's going to be it for me, guys. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. And yeah, bye, guys. Have a good one.